mini skirt on, dip my body in glitter. Platform sneakers, all the boys want a picture. Foreign cars, I make rich look richer. Save your breath, baby, I'm not going home with ya.
My name is Samala Thakialee Cronin, and I am a Butchulla and Woppaburra woman from Gari and the Keppel Islands in Queensland, and I'm a cultural professional and First Nations advocate. I also am a fashion designer and a published author.
My name is Marley Morgan. I'm a proud Gamilaraay and Wiradjuri woman. I'm a photographer, and I also run a mentoring program called Shadow Sisters. I'm an advocate for inclusivity and equality within the fashion industry, and I'm a mum of 3 beautiful boys.
I'd have to think about where I grew up and where I come from and my family histories, Financial wellness is more than just being able to pay my bills and, make sure that I'm living above the breadline, because my cultural obligations require me to make sure that my family are also looked after. So when I think about financial wellness, I would have to really think deeply on that and how that affects not just me on a micro level, but also on a macro level within my family and my community space as well.
For me, also, financial wellness means to me it's looking after myself and my family mentally. So growing up, I grew up in housing commission, lived below the poverty line. Never realised I was broke growing up because, we were always rich in culture, community, family.
Yeah.
But there's been many times, like when you're down to your last dollar, like how that can make you feel, or like when, you feel like you're not doing very well financially with work, like
all those self-worth issues.
The self-worth issues, how that can really make you feel. I think it's important that we look after ourselves because, we are rich in culture, we're rich with family, rich in so many other ways. So I think it's really important that we look after ourselves by being with mob, connecting to country.
So maybe not so much letting the actual monetary value of financial wellness dictate.
That's it.
Yeah. I think for me, like you said, sis, I think when you work hard and you become successful in the spaces that we work in, there's this perception that we've financially made it, which isn't, I live many times on the breadline because the money that I make within my business, it isn't enough to provide financial wellness for me and my family.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, I definitely agree, and like I have very similar views, when I make money, it's important for me to give back to my community and my family because that's my wellness, making sure that the ones around me are looked after because they looked after me, and I know if I was in a similar situation.
Yep.
And it's what, that's what fills my cup, and I can tell it that's what fills your cup, looking after your mob.
That's it. So how do you do that, sis? Because I know, for me, I've got a little system that I do, and I work on a percentage base. So, and me and you, we run our own businesses.
Yeah.
So a lot of the times we run on invoice.
Yeah.
Whenever I get an amount in, I'll split it into percentages. So I've got 30, 30, 30, 10. And I'll take 10% and that goes into a savings account. That's the money that I use for myself for my emergency funds. I actually have a 30% bucket that goes into what I use for my family.
Yeah.
That's that expendable money that I can afford to give out, and I have no expectation of receiving it back because it's an energetical exchange too. I'll get it back in another way. So that's my financial wellness. I've got a bucket that I can empty out at any time, and it makes me feel good.
I'm much the same. I will first off, make sure that my little babies are looked after, then make sure, check in with my dad, see if he needs anything, how everyone's going. Then I'll make sure, I put aside some money towards mutual aid and buy, especially from Black businesses and supporting the Black economy. I think it's very important we put money back into our own communities also.
100%.
And that itself, I might have a few dollars left for me, but I feel good. Giving back is what makes me feel good, because I know there's been so many times that I've needed it.
I think it's part of what defines us as a people too.
Yeah,
It's a cultural
absolutely.
value.
We are such giving people.
We share, and it brings my mum to mind actually. My mum was widowed when I was quite young, and I grew up in the Gulf of Carpentaria,
Yeah.
and quite remote. And my mum would always say that we are only as strong as our weakest link. So it's all good if you're doing deadly, but if the people around you aren't doing deadly,
Exactly right.
yeah.
That's such a good saying. I absolutely agree with that, sis. It's very, very true.
And even like, you just made me think, because you're a mum and I'm
Yeah.
not, but culturally, taking those babies, being able to take time is financial wellness. We were just talking about that.
Absolutely. Like you look, it wasn't too long ago that we weren't able to have our babies and live in safety, and that itself, like being able to be a Black mum and, really love on my babies and show them, be like a good role model to them and show them that I'm looking after myself, and it's important to practice self-care and look after our mental health.
Yeah.
And we as Black women, we are some of the most like lowest paid in the country. There is a massive gap between like my non-Black peers.
Well, there's a
and
real,
myself.
there's a
Like,
scale.
There's
hey?
a scale, absolutely. And we
It's
sit
like
at the bottom
white
of
men,
that.
white women, Black men, Black women.
Absolutely. And like when you don't come from generational wealth and you don't really know much about, like growing up, I didn't know what tax was or like super, like all these little things. So like in my 30s, I'm learning now. And it makes me feel good on the inside. Like, I'm learning. Like it might have took a while.
How them
but,
bass
like,
statements.
yeah, the bass statement.
Got the
like,
bass.
I'll eventually get tax back, but I'm getting there. Like I'm learning, and it's never too late to learn. And that itself for me is, building long-term.
What's that transgenerational knowledge that comes with it, isn't
exactly.
it?
It's generational knowledge, and also like money for the next generation, our family.
Yeah.
And also opening up doorways for other Black women who might want to be a fashion designer, a photographer, or really just like
anything they
want to be.
Anything.
The possibilities are endless.
If you believe.
If you believe, that's it.
Yeah.
Mini skirt on, take my body in glitter. Platform sneakers, all the boys want a picture.